Yeah, but we can count it in another way. Not in that way, you literal one step away from being an autistic person. God damn. I was just meaning in the general scheme of like, oh, it's been 26 more episodes.
I'm definitely on the spectrum, I think.
I never noticed until you had kids. No shit. When you had Stella, and I was like, no way, man. And I was like, oh, shit, I think so. Lightly. I mean, the like a light glaze.
Oh, this is a fun one.
I think it's only when you're stressed that I really see it.
Which is all the time now. Welcome to the Valkyries venturing into the veritable void. This is episode 63 of the Geekhood podcast, and just like every other week, it's Erik and Jarrad, your favorite goofballs talking about games and technology and all the latest stuff that's been popping off. And it's been a busy week, I gotta say. In case you were living on a rock, Nintendo dropped a whole bunch of stuff with their latest Nintendo Direct. Sony had a State of Play. Xbox had an event. There's also the Summer Games thing.
I didn't even go into that one. I was like, forget it.
Well, I think we touched a little bit on that the week before.
Teeny bit.
And then WWDC happened. And the SpaceX IPO just went live today. So it's... so much stuff has happened.
Burr, burr, burr.
And I just want to take a nap, but we're not going to do that. We're gonna dive into this. Do you just want to start at the top and run down?
Sony, Xbox, and Nintendo.
All right, Sony, Xbox, and Nintendo. SXN. So Sony and Xbox have been positioning themselves kind of like at opposite ends of the spectrum. So Sony has not as many games coming out, it feels, compared
not
to
first party and exclusives. Yeah.
Compared to Xbox.
Yeah.
But they also are selling a lot more consoles than Xbox.
Just dominating.
Yeah. And that's maybe why Xbox is trying to just kind of speed run to the next major console launch. But we'll see how well that goes, because right now, everybody's just getting slammed with these RAM prices. The cost of manufactured chips has gone through the roof, and it's just hard to make hardware, as we're finding out, and as Valve is finding out as well. But you know what? We don't have to talk about hardware at the moment because we got a lot of games to sink our teeth into.
A lot.
Yeah. So maybe we start with Wolverine. So if you're familiar with Sony, they've got some pretty awesome first-party Marvel-based IP games. So Spider-Man has been doing really well over the years, that and its sequel. And Wolverine, I think everybody's expecting to be in that same vein of a really solid first-party title. And the trailer that we saw and the gameplay that we saw, it's looking like it.
Yeah. My only, got to be the guy on the other side of the fence for this episode. My only thing is, how close is it going to feel like a Spider-Man? Except, you're not scaling walls and jumping around throughout the sky. So my hype for it did lessen a little bit this time around. It still looks great, just like the Spider-Man titles do. So that one's more like, I would like to see some reviews and maybe some more opinions from other people. Will it feel similar to Spider-Man or not?
I mean, it's got to be
bloodier.
It's got to be so different, because like Spider-Man, you're swinging through New York City, whereas Wolverine, you're going to be on the
Just
ground.
plowing.
I don't think it's like it's not supposed to be an open world game in the same way that Spider-Man is, I don't think. Or if it is, I don't know how I just don't think it would work like that. So I think it's going to end up being a very, very different game. But we'll see. I believe it's coming later this year. Is that?
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. So moving right along, let's talk about Until Dawn 2.
Yeah.
So this looks like a properly creepy, horrific game. And the internet is just totally abuzz, and everybody is just super pumped about this game.
Yeah. This is the year for like nostalgia, retro, and campy horror stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you got Silent Hill, uh, Scottish Town, or Townfall, I think it's called, and then now you got Until Dawn 2. So
Resident Evils, and then even in the movie theaters, your Obsessions and your
yeah,
backdoor, whatever it is, and
back
then
rooms.
also back rooms, and then also the Resident Evil movie that looks creepy AF.
Yeah, I'm so pumped for that. I'm gonna figure out a way to go see that in theaters. So yeah, I don't know too much about Until Dawn 2. I never played the first one. I probably should go back and check it out.
I think I watched gameplay of it back in the day, like playthroughs and let's plays.
Yeah, but I gotta say that the trailer, like I didn't realize it was a game when I first saw it. Like
Oh, that's pretty good.
it did a fantastic job, and part of it's because it's so freaking dark you can hardly see anything. Um, but it looks really sharp, so visually very impressive. God of War, we touched on that. Saros, which looks really trippy, kind of like almost like a Returnal, I would say, swing at trying something new, and then a whole bunch of uh, some Square Enix exclusives.
Well, I don't know if they're exclusives, but
Yeah, but they were showcased.
They were showcased during that Sony's, yeah.
Yeah. So, what were some of those?
Well, that's interesting because normally Square, since PlayStation 1 has been all into Sony and PlayStation, but this was a first year in a while where they separated their franchises to other folks, and it was mainly Nintendo. But as far as Square as a whole, I think I have it down here. You have Kingdom Hearts 4, finally, a trailer for it. Final Fantasy 7 Revelation, Final Fantasy Resonance, which is like an HD 2D, very cool looking. I think that's the three major ones, but the two of them, Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy Resonance, I think were on other events. But Revelation, the third chapter, was announced and shown off.
Yes, which, I mean, I'm playing through the second part of the trilogy sequel remake, and the world is huge. And apparently Revelation is going to be just as big because it's going to contain all the areas from this one. So I'm a little blown away by how big it's going to be. And
yeah,
that has me real excited.
When they were doing fight scenes and it was out in the middle of, God knows where, but it was constantly like every clip was somewhere out in the world. It looked massive and really pretty.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's Unreal Engine 4 still just putting in the work. So it's kind of weird how we're talking about Unreal Engine 4, 5, and 6 all within the same episode.
I mean, it's what we said the other day, where it was like people are still messing around in Unreal 4 and people are still messing around Unreal 5. So, because development cycles are just taking so much longer than they ever have.
Yeah.
And then we get an announcement for Unreal 6 and we're like, we're still messing around in 4 and 5.
But let's talk about Xbox and something that I did not see coming, but probably should have, is Gears of War E-Day.
That trailer looked great.
Yeah. So
and
it's
I
been a
watched
while.
Like a behind the scenes interview with that team, and holy God, it looks fabulous.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't had a new entrant into the Gears of War universe in
Since
quite some
360.
time.
Yeah, we're talking almost 20 years, maybe, like Xbox 360.
So it looks absolutely bangers. And
Destructible environments.
so I have a little bit of a kind of hypothesis here in what's going on is that what was it? Halo Infinity, I think
Campaign
that
involved, or the last one,
no, the last one that was supposed to
Infinity.
turn Halo into a live service kind of property.
Didn't
It,
do well.
no, it fell flat. And I think this is the Xbox attempt to kind of have another really marquee first party title, because Xbox is kind of missing that at the moment.
Yeah, this is exclusive only. You can only play this on the Xbox.
I mean,
Now,
it'll
how will that help? Will that sell consoles? Maybe. I don't know.
yeah, I think the previous Xbox CEO's plan of like Xbox Anywhere
Yeah,
might have actually turned out to be kind of a detriment, because if
yeah.
you don't need an Xbox to play, then
Why buy an Xbox?
you're not really an Xbox person, a gamer. You're just a PC gamer.
Yeah, yep. Or it'll come out to PlayStation, or now with the Switch 2 and its capabilities, it'll one day come to Switch 2.
Yeah. So I haven't been an Xbox owner since the original Xbox. So since the big the big monstrosity that was. But
They do have a lot of first party titles, so maybe not all exclusive, but they do have a lot of first parties that they own. So that was cool. So like you said, Gears of War E-Day, Clockwork Revolution, and then notable others, which we just said: Halo, Campaign Evolved, Fable, State of Decay 3, and Spyro out of nowhere, a return. And it's like a Spyro 4. So it'll be an evolution in the story and where he is. They're now going to introduce, which I thought was funny because it sounded like Warcraft, Dragonflight.
yeah, so I don't know much about Clockwork Revolution. This one also felt like it came out of left field, but it looks like a kind of a steampunk RPG style game with some time travel elements as well. I'm here for new and weird stuff,
Yeah,
and it
totally.
has me excited. But one thing that I'm really, really pumped for is Fable. And
Oh,
we've been waiting on Fable for many, many a year now. And to finally see some extended gameplay, I'm so excited, because this is one of my all-time favorite franchises. And I played the
I think this
original and the second one to absolute death.
I think
And
this one got pushed to February of next year
yeah,
due to development in GTA 6.
yeah, no one wants to compete with GTA 6 when that drops. And rightfully so, probably. Um, a few other notable titles. We had State of Decay 3 and another Spyro game debuting as well. So,
Dragonflight.
what do you mean, Dragonflight?
They're introducing this new mechanism in the game where now you can jump and you can start flying and be a little bit more like Zelda Tears, where you're not locked to land and then jumping from, island to island. You can now start doing more exploration and flying around.
Oh, cool. I mean,
And the graphics just look super pretty and clean. And
I never played Spyro, any of them.
it was a lot of fun, dude.
I,
I mean, if you like the Banjo and Kazooie, which I do, and some of that kind of stuff.
yeah, it's none of those have really ever been my jam. So,
My cup of tea.
all right, we want to move on to Nintendo.
Yeah. Yeah, Nintendo's a little different. They usually, their big directs are more like 6 months out. So they'll give you more actual release dates, which Xbox did too. Xbox did a lot more actual release dates. This is coming out in October. This is coming out in September. This is coming out in February. Nintendo is usually that way, but they also don't normally look so far out. But this one was, I think this one was geared more heavily towards their Japanese audience because this was a ton of JRPGs. Now, if you like JRPGs, they showed off a lot. Square Enix, as we said earlier, showed off more on Nintendo's Direct than they normally do. Normally, there was Sony. And what I took from this Nintendo Direct, we mentioned it earlier, is this console, this new Switch 2 console, is finally up to speed, that new games being announced are also being released on this new console instead of waiting a year or 2 years or whatever for like some clunky port. So that was super cool to see.
Yeah, and it's pretty awesome that the Switch 2 it's getting pretty much all the same amount of coverage in games that the latest versions of Xbox and Sony are, or PlayStation. So that goes to show you that the hardware inside the Switch 2 is powerful enough to hold its own against the current generation of consoles, and that means I think we're going to have a lot more parity when it comes to releases across the board.
I feel like they had more first party and exclusives, but again, they're a little bit more like I'm a Banjo and Kazooie kind of Spyro Mario kind of guy. These were more, some of them were more JRPGs. So Xenoblade Genesis was announced. Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave was talked more about. And then we know about Star Fox, and they announced a new Nintendo Switch Sports Resort. So, if you remember the Wii, it's very similar to that, or the Sports Resort that was on Switch 1. It's very similar to that. It'll be fun if you have kids, if you have family members, and, a little party. That'll be a good one. And then, if it wasn't already teased, unfortunately, by Nate the Hate, we got a teaser trailer for The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Eric, here's
Yes.
my question to you. The teaser trailer came out very similar to how they did Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. This was their big one where it'll take a while, though they did announce it will be out this year. Do you think Nate the Hate's announcement and then everybody covering it, including us, kind of deflated this? Or, like, if this would have been announced, would this have been a big reveal to like, GTA 6 is coming? And then for Nintendo, fans and Legend of Zelda fans of 40 some years, they've been like, holy God.
I honestly don't think it had any impact. I think the gameplay that they were showing for Zelda was just,
Well, they didn't show any gameplay. It was just a video.
well,
It was just him sleeping in a big banner on the wall, and then him sleeping and little glowing Zelda Triforce.
did I imagine some gameplay then, or am I thinking of a different Zelda game that I saw gameplay for?
You might be. Check it out. Go Google it real fast, and I can talk about stuff. So while he's looking that up, so other third party stuff, and this is general from Sony, Xbox, and Nintendo. So we talked about Kingdom Hearts 4. It also looked like they're going to re-release Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, and 3. I don't know if they're going to up-res them or anything, but I got to do a little bit more research into that. We talked about Final Fantasy Revelation, the third chapter in that. The HD 2D Final Fantasy Resonance. Also, Persona 6 got announced. Resident Evil Veronica. Devil May Cry. So, like, man, Capcom is still just, like, belting it out. Rayman Legends Retold, which is all remastered. Again, I like that style, so I'm super excited. Crazy Taxi looks crazy good. It's like almost has a Borderline or a Borderlands kind of look to it. And that came from, I think the last time that came out was Xbox 360. And then you had RuneScape Dragon Wilds, which also looked really good. More of that RPG style, but it looked fantastic.
Yeah, okay, I'm just crazy. It must have been a different Zelda game I saw it for. I don't know how that happened. Anyway, but yeah, I'm actually excited for Crazy Taxi.
I am too, man. It's just, again, I want some fun games. Like, I know I talked about, 007 and Indiana Jones. Like, those are going to be more intense. Or Metroid right now is, still intense. But something fun like a Rayman, Crazy Taxi, a Spyro that I can jump in, jump out. Like, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
And Kingdom Hearts looks, actually, this newest one looks really complicated. It does not look kid friendly, but I might be wrong in that. But it does look great.
Yeah, I'm pumped for that because it's the Kingdom Hearts series has always been a little deep when it comes to the gameplay and the RPG systems, and that's the kind of game that I really enjoy. And so I've really enjoyed the past Kingdom Hearts games, and having a toddler now who's probably going to be getting into Disney stuff at some point.
And if you can swerve him where it's like, look at this fancy version, that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still probably a couple of years away from sitting him down and kind of having a co-gamer, but yeah, I mean, I probably won't pick it up until then. But still,
Yeah.
it's awesome that it's coming. It had some great reception, and I think everybody's here for it.
Yeah, I told Katie last night, I was like, oh, by the way, they're doing a new Kingdom Hearts. And she was like on her phone. It's the first time in a long time I've seen her stop, turn her head, her eyes go bug out. And she was like, what?
Excuse me, what? Yeah, a lot of stuff coming. It's going to be a really awesome last half of 2026.
Yeah, and a lot had, Sony didn't have as many like actual release dates, and then Xbox kind of had more release dates, and then Nintendo had even more release dates. And that's the first time in a while that I've seen like actual like pen to paper, this is when you have to wait for it to come out, not like 2027. That's all they say. So this was a really great start to the summer.
Yeah. And you know what else is a good start to the summer?
Moving right along.
The Worldwide Developers Conference put on by Apple, where they unveiled all sorts of stuff. Start with this. I mean, I think the biggest one is probably iOS and macOS 27. And, well, I mean, new Siri, it makes me laugh how they branded it. So Apple Intelligence has been kind of the new kind of special sauce that will be going into all of Apple's devices. But the way they branded the new Siri is it's Siri Apple Intelligence, which shortens to Siri AI. And I'm like, no one is going to see that AI and think Apple Intelligence, no matter how hard you try to brand it that way. Yeah, but yeah, kudos for trying, I guess. But what were some of the biggest, most exciting things around Siri AI that you saw?
It was all of the talk that they had, 2 years ago now, where everything was going to be on device, ways to have an actual chat agent and to use natural language. And there was a lot more that they showed, but my big thing that I wanted was to be able to speak to it, and it pulls up my calendar, everything that's on device that is an Apple app, my calendar, my mail. Finally, they had upped and vamped mail, which was nice, and now you're going to be able to find it better, find certain words in emails and texts and photos. Like, I really like that Siri's really going to be able to get into that. Like, well, I was, I've had iPhones since the third one. And so I've got like thousands and thousands and thousands of emails and photos and text messages and all the stuff that also fills up my iCloud account. So then to be able to go back and to pull any of that stuff up is crazy cool. I really love that. Some of the stuff that I didn't give two hoots about was some of the artificial imaging stuff where it's like, are we getting into slop territory, or are we getting into taking a real photo and then making it more artificial? I'm a little iffy about that. Some of the stuff was cool, but some of the stuff as like a videographer and, a cheesy photographer, like that did kind of rub me a little bit of like, what am I showing off that is real? And then what part of it is, 25%, 50% is artificial. So that was a little weird, but I understand they need to keep up with the Joneses, with Gemini and everybody else. So, I took that with a grain of salt. But to go back, I liked that this integration with all of your apps. I really loved that. That was a cool way to streamline my life and trying to search all of this stuff over, even 2 years, let alone, 15 years that I've been using out the products.
Yeah. So I would agree with you. I wasn't as geeked by most of the image editing stuff, but all in all, I did find uh, kind of the showing to be mostly positive. Like I was I was the last few months I was really down on Apple, saying they got to catch up. They're not in a good spot. And you know what? I got to give them credit. I think they've righted the ship. They're headed in the correct direction. They've got the right bearing.
Yeah, and I'll add to that too. Yes, and they're still doing it like, if you want to call it the Apple way. They're still doing it in a unique way, different from other people, where they're heavily still looking at their ecosystem, which is a good thing. Marketing, yay or nay, and looking at more of a intro consumer where, my grandma could, talk to Siri. I don't want to call her Siri AI right now, but Siri 2.0. And it just sounds silly, whatever. And my grandma could use it. Like that has been Apple's thing for a very long time. And their iOS and iPadOS has gotten a little bit more convoluted with like sidebars, and widgets are kind of cool, but also they can get complicated, like with my grandma or other folks. And this was something that was, it felt something that was very unique and, dare I say it, special.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. But sadly, if you have a device with less than 12 gigs of RAM, you're not going to be able to use the on-device
Not all of it.
Siri. Yeah. So that is, I got to say, one of the things that I did like was Apple's approach to all these different models with different sizes, and then kind of figuring out what's going to be run on device, what's going to be run in their private cloud. Like always, privacy seemed very top of mind for Apple.
Constantly. Yeah. Almost like I would say every 5 minutes they said something about it.
Yeah. So that's definitely a differentiator that has been long-standing, and I think will continue. One of the things that I was actually most excited about was the new children functionality. So
A lot.
they put a lot of thought into how you can kind of control your child's accounts, what they have access to, and all the user experience interactions across the entire stack and all the devices. And uh, just, I was really impressed. And it's not something that I ever previously would have given two cares
Well,
about.
sure. But now
But
you have 2 kids.
yeah, and yeah, they're not of device wielding age yet, but we're gonna get there soon enough. And
What
knowing
were
that,
what were some of the things that stood out to you that you appreciated, or even you were like, "Oh, I didn't think about that. That's a good idea."
well, it's the way that they're thinking about apps and access to apps, but also to websites. And it's like you can have an approval list, and like within like the child can just request access to apps, to websites, and then you can just manage that from your own device. And that's it's just the simplicity of the way it works. And I mean, the implementation, I guarantee you, is not as simple as as
No.
making it sound. I
Like
was I was
to
go
give
ahead.
some examples, so they had, I think they divided into three. It was like video games, internet or social media or something like that, and then entertainment. And you could even fine tune how much time you give that child for each thing. You could then even go through and denote it like, this is not during school. This is not during homework time. This is like after school, after homework. And I appreciated that, like, okay, it's now summer, or it's the weekend where you have more time. So, like, you can adjust all that and have it set so that during the weekend or during the week, maybe they only have, an hour on this style of apps and an hour and a half on this one. And then it shuts down. And then, but they could have 3 hours or more during the weekend. And I just caught this, but instead of like trying to take in, from a teenager, trying to take the phone away and turn off access, I didn't think about some of these parents just have to turn their Wi-Fi off, and instead on your phone, on the parent's phone, you just hit pause, and it almost breaks the kids' devices. Uh, so I giggled, but I was like, oh, well, that totally makes sense, because what a pain.
Yeah. So it's pretty awesome the way they've gone about implementing all of this. Just knowing that this is the first step in probably a long number of steps over the coming years, so that when my children are ready to get their first iPad or first iPhone or whatever device, uh, I think that the capabilities are going to be really mature at that point, and that just gives me a lot of peace of mind. Like one less thing in the universe I have to be stressed about
Yeah.
trying to raise children.
And you can adjust it in the moment too. If, they got done with homework, quicker than normal or whatever. Like, so it was very pliable. They have a whole website to help show you and walk you through and help you understand, which also they didn't have to do that. I really appreciated, though. That's really great. Really trying to help parents and guardians for that. And also, we've talked about like the snow leopard of a update to OS 27. If no one understands snow leopard, so they had leopard, and leopard was this big, like, dramatic, OS change and updates and all this stuff, but it just came with a ton of bugs. So then they did snow leopard as like improving a lot of the performance and the apps and the software. And this was a huge push, to the point that I've never seen performance gains. Like, AirDrop is going to be 80% faster than it has been this last year or previous
Oh
years.
yeah, I totally forgot about this.
And
'Cause
like 5 times upload and download for like your iPad with Thunderbolt. Like, just a dramatic amount of improvements. And they're all focusing around this thing that they call CPU scheduler, of seeing in the moment, probably using AI or again, machine learning to like understand what apps you're always getting into every day, every week, every month, and it slowly learns. Probably part of that indexing, which, uh, depending on how you've been with Apple or how much information takes to index all that stuff, but really, really making everything a lot snappier and a lot faster across the board.
so it's I was blown away. I'm excited to upgrade to iOS 27.
That alone will make people, and we can move into the next part, like, this OS is going to go all the way back to iPhone 11. I did not think they were going to go that old, and this will make my grandma's phone just snappy as all be. minus some of the standard Siri and more advanced Siri. Like that alone is still like a crazy great update.
But unfortunately, some people might not be getting said updates because across the board for iPhones, Macs, support for older devices is starting to fall off. And I have,
Especially with the Siri AI stuff specifically. So
yeah,
if you're looking at artificial intelligence, this is where it's gonna whoops.
yeah. So be sure to check the compatibility matrix to see if your device can support this. I know my MacBook Pro cannot get Mac OS 27.
No. So to
Time to upgrade.
help to explain what Eric's saying is that any device memory of 12 gigs or more will get more advanced Siri. And then if you have 8 gigs or less than 12 gigs, you will either get some of these standard Siri AI functions and some may not, like an iPhone 11 may not. But for standard AI, you're looking at like your iPhone 15. So like I said, iPhone 11 probably won't get AI.
But not just
Um,
that. I'm also talking about just like certain versions of hardware will not be eligible for the latest OS.
specifically,
Specifically Intel. Yeah,
is
yeah. So I'm also wondering if my iPad Pro is ineligible, but I think it probably is
no,
still
your
supported.
iPad Pro, because your iPad Pro is an M1, right?
I think so.
So you will get standard, which is in the list, standard M1, M2, M3 models iPads in the A17 iPad mini will get standard Siri AI. If you want more advanced Siri, uh, it's going to come to M4s of iPads, M3 or later Max. Unfortunately, not for me. Because I have a 16 Pro. The 17 Pro in the iPhone Air will get the more advanced. You'll get standard on 15 and 16s and 17s, but not the more like custom voice speech or advanced dictation and complex verbal patterns.
Oh, so I might have to upgrade
Oh,
my
what a shame.
phone.
Oh, gross.
God, I'm
Oh.
going to upgrade everything. My iPad, my
So
phone, my
that's
computer.
where people are a little upset. If you want the latest, you'll get this really great OS, break it back down. You'll get a really great OS 27 where everything's going to be snappy. Certain later models will get a more standard Siri AI. And then if you want the more advanced, like natural language, I'm assuming, and dictation, then the very latest Apple products will get that. I didn't even talk about AirPods, by the way.
Was there anything notable about the AirPods?
Yeah, they are adding a custom EQ to the AirPod Pros.
Oh, yeah.
I hope it comes to the 2s because that's what I have. But the 3s needed it. They added more bass and a little less mids. And so some people liked that bass heavy, but they felt like the mids were a little muddied down. And this is the first time this has been a request for ages. They announced this. So custom EQ. So you can tone down the bass and you can up the mids a little bit more or do whatever you want to.
I was laughing because I saw a hot take that it's like, oh, this is one of the highly celebrated features that 99% of people won't even use.
I mean, I'll use it and then I'll set it and forget it. But
Well,
that's what the nice thing will be. I'll set it and forget it.
But you're definitely more of an audio guy than most people out.
Sure.
Yeah.
It would be interesting. I wonder if the EQ will also help with like the hearing aid functionality, if like a little bit more bass and then the vibration or something like that. So that's kind of interesting. I'll be very curious to see if people explore other avenues that custom EQ does for adaptive and transparency mode and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's where my head went. All right. Anything else from Dub that we want to call out?
If you have a watch, so the new OS, I call it OS because it's, Mac, TV,
Well, it's
blah,
Watch
blah.
OS.
Watch OS too. So Watch OS will be, it'll go back to Watch Series 9, and then it will be the Ultra 2, which unfortunately I have an Ultra 1. So there's some of those like things that I'm not going to get. But I was kind of waiting for an Ultra 4 anyway, because I think they're going to do a total redesign. I think I'm waiting for the iPhone 20th because that'll be a total redesign. And then, I've got an M4 Max, so I'm okay there. And then I, one day would like to upgrade to at least an M4 iPad Air, but that's like last on the list.
Yeah. So I held off on getting a new watch last year, so now I really need to upgrade. And like you, I'm probably going to wait to see what they roll out with the Ultra 4. Who knows when that'll happen? Sadly,
we said this earlier. I think this fall and winter are going to be very hardware heavy because
absolutely.
they've been waiting for this WWDC and the Siri. Like, we've said before, they've got a whole slew of home devices that they're just waiting to release. They're all in warehouses waiting to be shipped out. And then a lot of the new hardware needs to reflect the new software that they showed for iOS, iPad, watch and all that stuff. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a crazy just drop of hardware throughout the rest of this year with Apple.
Well, that, and you have all these new RTX Spark-powered Windows laptops coming in the fall. And I am willing to bet my bottom dollar that Apple is going to be rolling out the new MacBooks to compete head-to-head with those.
Oh, you mean in the touchscreen Ultra?
Yeah. I could care less about the touchscreen, but it looks like there's going to be a number of other new shiny features.
That reminds me, they did. I can't remember I remember one thing right now, but there were two. Sorry, there were two things that other people who have already gotten the developer whatever kits, so they're playing around with the initial beta, and one was showing how on iPads you can now touch individual icons up in the top area, and that was a very strong indication of macOS being able to then touch like I have Riverside Audio up in File Edit View, Window and Help in the top right or top left, and then all the other stuff. And that was a very strong indication. And then there were certain other things. Oh, like in iPhone, we used to have more apps that would go into landscape mode, if you remember that, when we were in college. And then they kind of faded some of those out, and then they're bringing them back, which was a really big correlation to the iPhone Fold or iPhone Ultra.
So, yeah, it's going to be a crazy, crazy fall for hardware. Start saving, kids. But in terms of finance, the X IPO today. So it went out at $135 a share and right away popped about 30%.
Wow.
Yeah. So I actually did put in for an allocation of SpaceX stock, and I woke up this morning and I saw that I was allocated one share of SpaceX.
Well,
so that's what it's. I used Robinhood to put in my request, and it seems like most everybody who did it with Robinhood got one share. So I'm not bummed about it. It's probably for the best. I think right now SpaceX is riding high, but I do think it is a bit overvalued, and I think the price will probably maybe even fall below kind of opening price when we get about a month out. So,
and to be clear, it's riding high because of this historical, space venture that went around the moon and the dark side of the moon and then came back.
Yeah, that, and it's just kind of like there's a crazy fervor of people who are not typical investors that just like want to own part of SpaceX. And you know what?
Space.
This share that I got, I will probably never sell it. Like I'm all in on the future in space, and it's just kind of cool to own part of SpaceX.
Okay. I mean, I get it.
I mean,
if I could own a mountain, even if it's only like 1%, I'd be like,
one square foot of the mountain.
That's it.
This is Jarrad's.
You gotta go like 12,000 feet above sea level. You gotta go find it. You gotta find that coordinate. But then you stand on that little square and you're like, this boulder, it's mine until it rolls away. But it's mine.
All right. Any other topics we want to cover?
No. That was a lot of games. And there were a lot more games, folks. So, search it out, YouTube, Google, whatever, on those 3 events. And there were plenty more things that we could have discussed about macOS Golden Gate or any of the other features. I mean, there were so many features that they didn't show it off. So reviewers and YouTubers are finding all of these other little cool knickknacks and stuff. So there's a whole lot to explore. This was just a taste of it, a teaser.
Just a little amuse-bouche, if you will.
Amuse-bouche.
All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it for this week's episode of the Geekoid podcast. Thank you for joining us. And as always, like, subscribe, do all the things on all the socials. And you know what? There's going to be a newsletter this Friday.
I'm so excited. I mean, I say it every week. And every week, dude, I could like do jumping jacks if I didn't have a cold. It's so exciting. I can't wait.
Yeah. And I think I'm actually, in all seriousness, really close to wrapping up our new branding. So there's going to be some visual eye candy coming to your devices and everywhere you consume Geekoid. So stay tuned, and it's going to be awesome. I'm pumped.
TBA.
Yeah. So for myself, Eric, and my bestie,
Jarrad,
thank you for tuning in, and
geek out.
Geek out.
End of transmission.